I got a six-figure client from LinkedIn. So I'm always telling people, get out there, be visible, consistently show up, and it can make a difference. It took a long time, like so much to the point that I was doing some sales that incorporated training, but I had to almost start my own job. I mean, my own company at that time where I was doing a lot of virtual coaching and really trying to get more of that experience that people were saying I was lacking. But I was persistent. And I, again, consistently showed up, consistently put myself out there, put myself in uncomfortable situations. And eventually, when I got that role in HR, leading a team, it was like everything I had dreamed of and worked so hard to get. Something that stood out is really just knowing that you have your own timeline, right, to complete certain goals. And then the universe or God or like there's other things that come into play. And one moment you'll be like, oh my gosh, this is what I've been like working so hard to accomplish.
Welcome to Begin, Build, Blossom Your Business Journey, the podcast where we share valuable insights, resources, and motivation to fuel your entrepreneurial spirit. Let's build a supportive community together. Don't forget to subscribe or follow wherever you listen to podcasts and be part of this journey. Let's pause for a moment to hear from our sponsors. You've built a name for yourself through hard work and dedication, but does managing the business side feel like a distraction from your true passion? Are you dealing with unmanaged finances? CME Accounting LLC is here to help. We specialize in organizing your financial records, allowing you to focus on what you do best. With organized books, you'll have more time for what inspires you. Whether that's expanding your influence, building relationships, or simply enjoying life. Don't let unmanaged finances hold you back. Reach out to CME Accounting LLC today and let us help you thrive. Visit our website www.cmeaccountingllc.com or email us at admin@cmeaccountingllc.com. All right, let's jump back into our conversation. Good day and welcome to another episode of our podcast, Begin, Build, Blossom Your Business Journey. Today's guest is Angela Tait. She is the founder and chief talent strategist of Tait Consulting, an HR consulting and recruiting firm, helping growing businesses hire smart, build strong cultures, and keep top talent. With over a decade of experience in people operations, Angela recently released the Human Capital Playbook, a practical guide for leaders navigating the modern workplace. Angela holds a master's in organization development with Pepperdine University and is an SHRM-Certified Professional. Her insights on workplace culture, hiring, and leadership have been featured in SHRM, Fast Company, US News and World Report, and more. She's also the host of the Mom Me podcast, where she celebrates ambitious working mothers and advocates for more inclusive, flexible workplaces. Through her writing, podcasting, and consulting, Angela is helping reshape the future of work, one team at a time. Thank you, Angela. Thank you for joining us. How are you doing today?
Absolutely. I'm happy to be here. I'm doing wonderful. How are you doing?
I am doing good and even better, doing better now. Congratulations on your book launch. Can you tell us a little bit more about your book and what the launch has been like?
Yes. Oh my gosh. It's been a 2.5 year journey getting this book out to the masses. And it feels like a sense of relief, but also anticipation. We have the Kindle that's dropping. And so I'm trying to get reviews right now. Right now, we have 27 reviews. We published a couple weeks ago. And my goal is 100 before the Kindle comes out. I don't know if it's going to happen. We're, only a fourth of the way there. But yeah, it's been exciting. I love hearing the feedback from a lot of people that have started diving in, all the support with people purchasing it, reviewing, and just the impact it's already created. I told my husband yesterday, if I can just change the life or impact one person, then I did a good job and I feel happy that I released the book.
Great. Thank you so much for doing that. And I'm it will be such a good resource for small business owners like myself because we're professionals in other things, but not when it comes to HR. So it's always good to have that.
Yes, I mean, it really is supposed to make it easy for business owners or HR professionals that are even just getting into the field. It's a step-by-step guide in the sense that it breaks it down on how to hire individuals into your organization and then how to inspire them, really keep them there, keep them motivated and engaged, and then retain them because turnover is expensive and hiring is a long process. So once you get someone in the door and they're a great fit, you do want to make sure you keep them there for a long time.
And that is so true. Thank you. And we'll move on now to our rapid fire section. We just want to get to know you a little bit better. So, can you tell us one word to describe yourself as a child versus one word you would use now?
Oh, wow. Gosh. I like to think that I go back to my childlike self often, but as a child, playful. And I would still describe myself this way as a child and now, but curious.
Nice. Thank you. And we know the name of your business is State Consulting. Can you just tell us a little bit more about what you do in business?
Absolutely. My majority of my business is really helping entrepreneurs and business owners scale by hiring the right people so they can delegate, be in their zone of genius, and get other people doing certain things that might be bogging them down, might be taking up a lot of time. And so, hiring and really what that looks like is going out, posting the job description, recruiting, screening, scheduling, coaching the business owners and the candidates, and making sure it's a right fit. That's the majority of the business. And then the other aspects of the business are more fractional HR services. And so a lot of businesses might not have HR in house, or they might have HR, but they need extra support. And so we're coming in and doing certain projects. So recently we worked with a company that scaled pretty quickly, and they had us come in and help with role clarity and job descriptions and meeting effectiveness and team building and some leadership development. So that's always fun too, doing more of the training aspect. And then we also are doing, career coaching for candidates that are out in the job market looking to get placed somewhere, as well as just business coaching for business owners and leaders and people to help like hone in on how they can be better leaders and business owners.
Awesome.
A lot of different aspects, but kind of all under the same umbrella.
Yeah, and it does show how much we need as the business owners. It is a lot, so it's good to get somebody on your team to bring in somebody to join your team to do that, even though it's on a consulting basis. And how long have you been in business?
We started at the end of 2022. So I was in corporate, I was leading an HR team. And then after getting burnt out in corporate internally, I went and started my business. I had my first client in October of 2022. And then from there, yeah, it's just been going well ever since. Haven't looked back.
Nice. How did you get that first client?
Well, honestly, the first client was my husband, which really helped. And then he has a law firm. And so him and his partner at the time, they hired me on because they had about 12 people. And they really needed some extra training for their team. They needed some recruiting support. And then from there, I got a referral from where my sister works. And so a lot of my business has come from friends and family or referrals from friends and family, which has been great to really help kind of keep that steady flow. But I mean, besides that, I've also just gotten clients from social media. I got a six-figure client from LinkedIn. So I'm always telling people, get out there, be visible, consistently show up, and it can make a difference.
Oh, I'm very curious. What was it that worked on LinkedIn to land you that client?
Someone reached out. I posted something about being a without I what did I say? I could be your VP of talent without the six-figure salary. And that really caught the person's attention. They mentioned they had been growing quickly. They needed to get support on their team. They actually were a 500 person organization. And so they were already had HR training in house, but they needed extra support. And so that's what we do. We're an extension of the team. We came in, we hired over, I think it was over 50 or 60 people in a 6-month span because they were, again, consistently growing. They had high volume recruiting needs that they needed extra support on. And then we also helped redefine really their interview process because they had grown so quickly. They needed consistency throughout the organization with different departments. And so we created that with interview templates and career coaching. I shouldn't say career coaching, but more leadership development for new managers that had not interviewed before and didn't really understand how to build a team and how to hire effectively. And then we came in and we were training about, how to have effective job descriptions or how to hire and what that process looks like. And so it was a really fun project that started as something that was supposed to be like 3 to 6 months and it ended up being almost a year contract.
That's amazing. And even I'm thinking that's a firm that's already had 500 and you were able to help them grow even more and put things in place. And then there are companies who are now starting out and they could already use that. So as they grow as quickly as this company did, they would already have those things in place. So I just love to hear you talk about that. And I'm just curious, what's been a standout moment for you in your business journey so far?
Gosh, I mean, in my career journey or with my business or just in general, just
Your career led you to where you are now. So let's just take one from each.
yeah, I mean, one thing that really hit home was when I was at my last company and even today is how everything has a way of working itself out. I learned in grad school, trust the process. And I really saw that come through over the last, I don't know, maybe like 5 or 6 years because I started my career, I wanted to get into media management when I was an undergrad. I wanted to be a producer or a casting director and be in entertainment. And I did internships and I realized that that was a very toxic environment. I didn't want to be in LA. And so then I went through this pivot and new journey of self-discovery of like, what am I going to do? I'm graduating with this degree and I decided I don't want to go into that industry, that career path. And so I went into sales and I thought sales would be just a short-term solution while I'm rediscovering what my long-term path is. And getting into sales and anything that you get in right after school, I think you get a little bit stuck in the sense that that's what you're identified as when you're in the job market. And so I was in sales and my dad's a psychologist and he mentioned to look into psychology. And I started taking classes and I discovered a master's program on organization development. And so I kind of went down this new path of like OD work, which sometimes falls under the umbrella of HR, change management. It's kind of working with the whole organization on more effectiveness and team building and all of that. And yeah, and once I graduated, so I got into that program. And once I graduated, I was still kind of dabbling in sales. I had been doing certain consulting projects, but to get an internal job, and I actually did do a part-time HR generalist role while I was in school as well. So I had experience, but not like your typical HR path as I was trying to get into the OD or HR field. And so it took a long time, so much to the point that I was doing some sales that incorporated training, but I had to almost start my own job. I mean, my own company at that time where I was doing a lot of virtual coaching and really trying to get more of that experience that people were saying I was lacking. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is then I finally got into a recruiting job and then I got into an HR position. And because the team was small and we grew rapidly, I became a leader in HR. But that path was not direct, right? And a lot of times there were moments like, should I just give up? Should I just stay in sales? Should I just work the sales ladder? And then, I'll be able to utilize the skills I learned. But I was persistent. And I, again, consistently showed up, consistently put myself out there, put myself in uncomfortable situations. And eventually, when I got that role in HR, leading a team, it was like everything I had dreamed of and worked so hard to get. And it was at a company that was real estate. And it was funny because earlier in my career, one of my first sales jobs was a leasing consultant. So it was this full circle moment of working in property management and now overseeing and helping hire like for a property management real estate company. So I guess it's just to say like something that stood out is really just knowing that you have your own timeline, right, to complete certain goals. And then the universe or God or like there's other things that come into play. And one moment you'll be like, oh my gosh, this is what I've been like working so hard to accomplish. And even now in my business, it's like the same thing. Wow, like I'm finally in this position where I'm making good money. I'm working with the type of clients I want to work with. I'm on a podcast with you, right? And I'm getting to just do these things that I so desperately wanted to do earlier on in my career, but I was either not ready, not prepared. I just wasn't in the right place, time, and by trusting the process, it all worked out.
Yes, I really love that, trusting the process. And that continues, right? You have to keep trusting the process. Thanks so much for sharing that with us. And I'm so glad that it's all working out. On the flip side of that, is there one mistake you could think of that taught you something valuable that has led you to where you are now?
Oh gosh, I'm sure there's been a lot of mistakes along the way. I mean, earlier on when I got this big client and started in my business, I was doing so much hiring for other people. I don't really feel like I followed my own advice of putting a good team in place, right? It's kind of that chicken before the egg. You might not have enough money at that first start when you're starting your business, so it's scary to hire and start scaling in the preparation that you're going to have abundance and have all these clients. But because I got so busy so quickly I got one client and then another, and then it was like I had 4 or 5 clients at once and trying to juggle that. And then also trying to hire people for the team was a lot. And so that was a mistake that I made early on of not following my own advice, of really getting a team in place and preparing for what's to come, right? Because I was doing all the groundwork and working kind of the different aspects of client development. But now like I had the clients and I didn't have the team to support it. And so I felt very burnt out because I had to do a lot of it on my own.
I think all of us kind of experience that at some point, even as the accountant. Sometimes I'm doing everything for my clients, but I'm not really doing it for myself because we just want to get the work done. And I would say that I definitely relate to that.
Well, it's almost like you're doing it all. It's funny because my dad, as I mentioned, he's a psychologist, and one person asked me one time, "Oh, does he analyze you all the time?" And I asked him, and he was like, "No, I'm like doing that all day at work. By the time I get home, I am tired. I'm not over like analyzing the situation. He's done for the day. He doesn't want to bring his work home." And I think so often we're like, we got into this business because we do love doing it. But then you start doing it with multiple clients. And so then it becomes exhausting to have to do it for yourself. And you're like, I'm not getting paid to do it for myself per se. So it's like you're just kind of doing whatever you can for the client. And then to try to do those things for you, whether it's accounting or hiring or training, it just seems like, no, I'm just trying to, it just gets overwhelming.
Yeah, and also the time factor, right? You
Mm-hmm.
have such limited time and your clients are the priority, not necessarily yourself. So
Which is
even
backwards, right? It should be like, and that's something I've been trying to work through too. Like it should be right ourselves because then we can show up better. But that was definitely something I did in the beginning too. It was like everything was for my client. But I mean, that showed because then I would get repeat business. So it is kind of that balance, like you're saying, by honing on what our business needs, what we need, but then also focusing on our clients. It's the same with motherhood, right? It's
Mhm.
like as mothers,
Oh
we're
my goodness.
constantly giving to our kids, and we're like, oh, we're coming last. But then by doing that, we don't fill up our cup. And then sometimes we come from a place of depletion. And I think that carries over to business as well, because we're just constantly showing up for others and like thinking that that's what's going to make them happy. And so therefore it makes us happy. But then we kind of lose ourselves in the process.
Yes, and the good thing is to be aware of it and and to take that step back and to, rectify that. And I think sometimes it's part of the learning. It just becomes a point where it's like, okay, this is what's happening and I need to change it. Like it coming in, but then there's the reality of the experience and you're just in your zone getting things done. And then
Yes.
there becomes a time you have to be like, okay, you know what? I need to refocus. So I think I get the feeling that almost everybody probably goes through that.
Yes. Well, and I feel that's why it's so good to be reflective, and that's probably why it's helpful to have meditation and stuff to hone in on the awareness of those.
It's so interesting you mentioned meditation. I've been meaning to meditate for so long, and this morning I meditated for 10 minutes. I don't know if I did it
Ooh.
right, if there is a right way, but I literally sat down, closed my eyes for 10 minutes and just thought of whatever. I don't even know, but it
That's
felt so
that's
good.
impressive. 10 minutes is a I can barely sometimes get through a few minutes because 'cause I'm thinking, "Oh, I have all this stuff to do," right? But
And I was still thinking that. That's why I'm saying I'm not sure I did it right, but I had that moment for myself. I felt like I needed it, and all those thoughts were still coming in, but I felt like I was able to kind of get some answers from myself, like in that silence.
oh, I
And
love it.
it's interesting. I'm gonna keep doing it. I loved it.
Good. I'm glad you said that. Yeah, because it's something that's been on my mind as well, and it is hard to get 10 minutes to do it, but honestly, I think it makes you show up a lot better and be more focused and grounded because you just took those 10 minutes.
Yes, yes, I would say so. So about your name. So I know the name of your business, it comes from your name, but I'm just curious if you had other names that you thought of before you settled on that strong and simple name.
Honestly, I was thinking I just need something quick. I could not think of a name. It was really challenging, and I was trying really hard not to use my last name. I wanted something unique and this and that, but I just ended up using my last name. And even today, I think, should I change it? Should I make it more about HR and recruiting? So when you hear the name, that's what you automatically think of. Because right now it seems more broad. So when it's Tait Consulting, you don't really know what am I consulting on, right? So thinking about a name, it is a great question and something I'm still always going back and forth. Do I change it? Do I leave it? What about your company name? Is it your
It's actually my
initials?
initial, CME. So I did not want to have my actual name in there. So I kind of settled on that. And I like it. But it took me a long time. I almost did not proceed because it was taking me so long to come up with a name. So I like to ask that question because there is a lot that goes into getting that name. And it's almost that's my first introduction to the world and I want to make sure it's right. And I sometimes think about it when I compare it to when you're choosing a name for your kid. Because you know that's the name they'll have forever and whatnot. But at least if a business you can change. I mean, you can change either way, but you're more likely to change with the business. I've learned it's not such a big deal. You can always rebrand and do all of that. So the important thing is doing what's comfortable now and just going forward.
Well, it's interesting you say that too, because I think there's always something that gets us stuck in a process, right? Whether we're starting a business and we're like, what's our name going to be? Or what's, this or that. And then you get kind of stuck there for a while and you don't move forward. And you're like, oh my gosh, okay, I need to just get through it. And then once you get to the other side, you're like, okay, I should have maybe done this sooner. But yeah, it's a learning experience.
Let's pause for a moment to hear from our sponsors. You've built a name for yourself through hard work and dedication, but does managing the business side feel like a distraction from your true passion? Are you dealing with unmanaged finances? CME Accounting LLC is here to help. We specialize in organizing your financial records, allowing you to focus on what you do best. With organized books, you'll have more time for what inspires you, whether that's expanding your influence, building relationships, or simply enjoying life. Don't let unmanaged finances hold you back. Reach out to CME Accounting LLC today and let us help you thrive. Visit our website www.cmeaccountingllc.com or email us at admin@cmeaccountingllc.com. All right, let's jump back into our conversation. And your book, the Human Capital Playbook, is full of practical advice. So, what's one idea from the book that small business owners can start applying right away?
I mean, in chapter one, I talk about the job description, and that's a really easy thing that you can apply right away. I have a free job description template too. So if you didn't want to necessarily follow that format, but you did want to understand what the different aspects of a job description are, I can share my free job description template with you to share in the notes so people can utilize that. But that's a huge one because that's really setting the expectations, right, for the role that someone's coming in at. And it sets the whole tone, which is kind of funny to think about. But it's also your sales pitch or marketing, and in the sense that that's what you're putting out and that's what you're going to get back, right? So because the job description really defines what this person is going to be doing, who your company is, what you're looking for, it's helping broadcast to the world and to your audience or whoever you're, reaching out to, hey, this is the role I have available. And so I do like to share that, and that's why I have a free job description template, because it is really setting the tone for the candidate. I just had a candidate the other day. She was applying for a position, and then I thought she might be good for another position, another client I was working with. And I went back to the job description. She's like, "Can you share the job description with me?" And I don't think it's a good fit because of this, this, and this. And so just getting that clarity and setting expectations early on helps set not the mood, but just understanding and having that clarity. So then when they do get on the job, then it's like you can refer back to that, like, hey, you're not doing X, Y, and Z. And here's like what you're not doing, which is part of the job that we agreed to when you came on.
Yes, and also it gives you a chance to really think of what it is you're taking off your plate, right? And passing on to somebody else. So I think you mentioned clarity, and I think it really does that. So to evaluate expectations when it comes to the person you're bringing in, but also for yourself, what's that thing that I won't have to do anymore? And then that, I think, can open up so much more bandwidth for other things.
Yeah. And that's what I tell clients a lot of times when they're like, I'm not sure what I'm hiring for, but I need this, this, and this. And I'm like, write it all down. Let's put a job description in place, because I do believe that it helps you, like you said, not duplicate efforts. Like, it's very clear, this is what your job is, this is what my job is, right? So you're not doing the same thing or repeating tasks.
Thank you. And when it comes to actually growing, I know you mentioned earlier you had a client who grew very quickly. So, what's one way you would say somebody starting out now who doesn't have a team yet? What are the things that they can be doing to avoid that issue?
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have anyone on your team right now, there's a lot you could be doing, but it's really, I guess, creating some SOPs, like standard operating procedures, in the sense of clear process. And so then if you were to bring someone in, there is that clarity of this is how a job is to be done, whether you have like it written or even maybe Loom videos or training videos on how to do a certain task. So if they were to take it over, a job description can be helpful before someone comes on board, even understanding what your mission, vision, and values are. So then when you're going through the interview process, you can make sure there's alignment. This person understands where you want to go with your company, and so they can help you get there. So there's a lot of those things just as a business owner you put kind of on the back burner. But then when you start to bring people into your culture or company, and that could be another thing you're thinking of, is what type of culture or environment do I want to create? And setting those expectations early on, or when you're in the interview process, telling people about it, it gets them excited and they want to be part of that mission or vision that you're creating.
Yes, I love that you mentioned that because for me, I've been working on that, thinking about what culture am I trying to create? What are the people that I want to attract based on that culture? So it's such good work to do just as the business owner, as you, even by yourself, as you work on building, because that is the foundation of that business. So I'm really glad there are people like yourself helping with that.
Yes, and a lot of people too, they'll be like, "Oh, I want to make $1 million," but it's like, well, who's going to help you get there, right? What do you need to do? And so we a lot of times go to the money aspect, but it's like you need the people. You can't do it on your own. I mean, maybe you can, depending on your business model, but it's probably going to take other people to come on board. And so a lot of times the first couple of hires might be more of a virtual assistant to help with some tasks and organization on that back end stuff that could be taking up a lot of energy, and then someone to replace you. And so you can start working on the business instead of in the business constantly. And so getting that succession planning, replacement, training them. So those are things to think about for your first or second hire.
Yes, for sure. And that brings me to a question about contractors versus full-time, because we're talking about hires, but for persons who are probably not yet too comfortable or maybe not financially able to bring on a full-time hire, what recommendations would you provide?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely differences between contract workers and full-time W-2 employees. And I will tell you, I've worked with women and men, and a lot of women, they get contract workers, and it might be a safety factor and financial, right? Like they're not sure. And then a lot of men will just jump right into it and like have W-2 employees. At least with the clients I've been working with, that's what I've noticed. And so men seem to grow quicker because they have these W-2 employees versus women have like contractors. And the difference, there's a lot of differences from legal aspects and then just in general. One, like a contract worker could be working with multiple people, right? And so their engagement and like their loyalty to you could be a lot less because they're not a W-2 employee, right? They can come and go as they please. They kind of work their own hours. That's kind of what a contract employee is. Usually they have a scope of work that they're brought on board for. Let's say like an accountant, right? Like you bring in an accountant and like their job is to like do your bookkeeping and your, the accounting tasks. And that's kind of more of a contract position. And they might be working with multiple clients on the accounting needs. But if you want someone that's really going to kind of be really involved and just work with you, which I have had certain clients say, I just want them to work with me. It's like, you can't really have that expectation as a contract worker. And it's really not legal. Like they're supposed to have their own hours and all of that, own schedule, but you can dictate and you can give. With a W-2, there's just a lot more that you can hone in on. Right. So you can fire someone, you can hire them, you can say, these are your hours that you have to work. When someone's not doing a job well, you can go back and you can talk to them about it. Obviously, you can do that with your contract worker as well. It's just going to be a different type of conversation. So, I mean, there's a lot of like differences. Is there something that you're wondering, like a specific area when it comes to contract workers or W-2 that I can hone in on?
I think you covered it already, because I think just that basic distinction when you're hiring, are you hiring a person who is focused on you and who's just doing your work as opposed to a contractor, and just knowing the difference, because I think that is something that as a small business is very important to know, just that one piece of information you just provided, and that can help you make other decisions as you go forward. I know you have a group. I don't know if it's something you want to talk about.
Yeah, are you talking about the HR collective that you joined? Yes. So I do have a group that business owners, leaders, HR professionals can join, and it's monthly or monthly calls, virtual calls where people can come on. There's an HR office hours where people can ask different HR questions and then hear from myself. And then sometimes we do have an employment attorney that's on there as well. And so she gives more of the legal advice. Since I'm not an attorney, I can't provide legal advice. So that's a great space for other business owners to connect and leaders to understand challenges that other people are having. And it's always nice to see like how certain people are like, oh yeah, I have that problem too, right? But it might not be top of mind, or you see someone that has maybe a bigger business. And so they're dealing with different challenges because as you grow, different, issues pop up that you maybe didn't have earlier on when you were smaller, such as different personalities, right? And helping the team work together when you have 5 different people on the team. They all have different goals or personalities. And that's why it is really important to have those weekly conversations and get on the same path so you all do have the same goal and know what success looks like. And you're all putting the boat in the same direction versus having boats go in different directions. But yeah, so we do the HR office hours, and then we also bring in speakers, like experts on different topics when it comes to the HR umbrella, whether it's someone that's talking about culture or someone that's talking about hiring or compliance and different things.
Yes, I am so happy to know that you have that because I think as a small business owner, we do everything, but we're not professionals in all of those things. So it's good to have those places like your group where you can go in and learn from people who are starting like yourself, people who have who, you know who are years ahead of you, and being in community with someone who has that knowledge, someone who can guide you. So even though they're not on your team, like looking at your stuff every day, but then you can bring that one thing that you're struggling with, bring it into that community and just have a discussion and support. And it could be a validation of something you're already thinking, or just if it's something you're not sure of because of the laws, or I mean, I know we talked about you not being an attorney, but there are some things like differences between a contractor and an employee. Those are things that can be answered by you. And I just think it is such an amazing thing that you're doing. So thanks for doing that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's something that I was doing pretty consistently at the beginning of the year. I did actually pause it for last month in April because I do want to get more of a consistent cohort. I had different people joining and trying it out, and a couple of people that had signed up because it is a cost for the membership or subscription or whatever you want to call it. So I am relaunching it, and so it could be like more of a consistent group and cohort. And I'm going to be launching it where it's actually starting in August. So it's a few months away, but that way I can get a really good group together as an intimate group, but we can kind of go through different areas and really end the year strong and set goals and make sure we're meeting them and collaborating together and supporting each other on those goals, and also helping, like you mentioned, like in the HR compliance realm, so everyone is set up for success as they're continuing to scale.
That's great. And how do you manage the financial side of growing? Do you do it yourself or do you have a team?
With the financial side, I actually have a fractional CFO and a bookkeeper. So is that what you mean when you say financial side?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so I do have a fractional CFO that's like kind of helping me strategize. Definitely last year I did not have that. And so that was another thing. I felt I was investing a lot in the business. Anything that was coming in, I was reinvesting in myself and the business. And that was great, but I was burning through cash pretty quickly and just like learning about different things because we switched from an we're still kind of an LLC, I guess, but like an S corp, and having to pay myself and like having a payroll and just all the different things that I wasn't really prepared for. So it's been a lot better this year, like having more structure and education and experience from last year to, okay, where should I be like investing certain dollars? What gave me the ROI last year that I want to continue doing? Or how can I cut back on certain things that maybe didn't give me a lot of, return. So it's been a learning process with that as well. I think early on, there's so many financial mistakes you make when you don't bring in a bookkeeper accountant early.
Yes, and yes, and the cleaning up later can be even more expensive. So that is one thing I would say as well. Always bring in somebody, even before you can do that, even before you've actually launched and you're just thinking about it. You can bring somebody in to set up things for you. And I like how you mentioned that you, with an accountant, you now get a chance to actually sit down and look at the books, and you were burning through cash, but where is that cash going, and what can you do? So, like, what can you do to help with that burn rate? So, it's very important to have that. So, thanks for highlighting that.
Yes, yeah, I would say it's crucial. And it's interesting because when I first started, I think I did sit down with a fractional CFO. She's like, "This is really good. You're getting ahead of it." Most businesses don't, right? They wait until kind of the situation I was in where you're burning through cash and you're kind of, or you're getting audited or like different things pop up that you end up bringing in someone at that point. So starting early, like right as just as you mentioned, like even maybe you're thinking of starting this business, what does that look like? And if you have some money to set aside and bring someone in like yourself to kind of put a plan together, get some budgets, I think you're set up better.
Yes, thank you. And when we look at being in business, the blossoming stage is always a great stage. And I always think it looks differently based on where you're at. What blossoming looks like at the beginning would look different to what it looks like as you grow. But I'm just curious, the one thing I feel like that stays the same is what maybe keeps you motivated for the most part, your why. So can you just tell us a little bit more about what keeps you motivated on a daily basis?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I honestly feel like there's a lot of different whys. One is it's just proving like almost to myself what I'm capable of is like a big why in the sense of I feel like as a young girl, I like my older brother was a little bit of a bully and I used to think I wasn't smart or I don't want to say I wasn't capable because I was a really strong, courageous person, but it's just kind of proving like I am smart and I can do these things. And if I put my mind towards something, I can get it done. And I really do honor that about myself is I do have great follow through and determination. Um, but that's secondary in the sense that another why is just the impact that I've been able to create so far and like what I hope to continue creating. Because I hear people, I mean, when you help someone get a job, and I understand the struggle because I was in this position once before too, right? Like right after grad school, I was putting my application out and I was going through a lot of interviews and getting rejected or being runner up, told I was not qualified, underqualified, or overqualified. And it's frustrating. And you're like, no, I have a lot of value that I can bring. And so being in a position where I can now bring people to a company and say, hey, this person actually has a lot of great skills. Can you explore? And so just being able to match people with a company, like a job is where you spend a lot of your time and energy, and it gives you purpose if you're fulfilled by it. And so that's always been a really big why is just helping people be happier at work, feel fulfilled, feel purposeful because we spend so much of our lives working. We might as well feel good about it, right? And be like waking up every day motivated to do the work we're doing. And so creating better environments for people to work in, giving them the tools to be successful. I mean, there's just so much that I feel grateful to do every day. And when I get messages from people saying, I'm so happy working at this place. Thanks for introducing me to it. Because a lot of times I am going out and reaching out to people to apply for a position. So it's just a great feeling to create like those win-win situations with the business owner or the leader, like feeling that break, that time back in their day because they've been able to hire someone that can come in with a certain skill set and then perform a job so they don't have to do that job anymore.
Yes, you're giving a lot there to the person who's getting the job and the person who's hiring. So thanks so much for that. And how can listeners connect with you or grab a copy of the Human Capital Playbook or also even listen to your podcast?
Yes, all of them. Well, with my podcast, we're on all of the different channels with Spotify, Pandora, Apple. So you can listen there or even on my website at angelatait.com on the podcast tab. My book is on Amazon. So you just look up the Human Capital Playbook by Angela Tait. And I would love for you to, buy a book or even pre-order the Kindle that's coming out in a week or so. And then in regards to working with me, you can also, message me on my website. I have a booking link if you're interested in talking further or want to explore my services. And then, of course, on LinkedIn, I'm always posting about different HR topics and different things in that realm. So connect with me on LinkedIn for other kind of business advice or tips.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for taking time to be with us today and congrats again on your book. So thank you so much and talk to you again soon.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to Begin, Build, Blossom Your Business Journey. We hope today's conversation gave you the insights and the inspiration you need to move forward on your own path. Don't forget to subscribe or follow wherever you get your podcast so you never miss an episode. Do you have feedback? We'd love to hear from you at podcast@cmeaccountingllc.com. Join us again next week for a new episode.